Hey everybody, this is Carl back again for uh, a review of, excuse me, uh, Marvel Rivals. And yeah, I only been playing this game for about a week, and I'm only learning, two characters so far. Like I started off with Scarlet Witch, and then now I'm just learning the Punisher, which you can check out my gameplay of Marvel Rivals up on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/talkativecarl. You can follow me there and subscribe, as well as my links to other channels such as my Patreon, if you want to become a Patreon member, my Twitch, uh, Twitter, all this stuff. Links in the description below if you want to further support the channel. And honestly, this is one of those games that like just knocks it, like original IPs that knocks it out of the park immediately. It's like the Hans Gruber of video games, where it's just one particular role that just boom, it just does an impressive job. And like, millions of people like, download this game, playing it for hours. It's the talk of the town pretty much for going on a week, and how people are enjoying this. And I'm one of those people like, yeah, this is like an impressive game. As I mentioned through my gameplay, uh, the uh, the animation or just the art is impressive. But, mainly because this developer is somewhere in I don't know if it's China or somewhere like in an eastern country. It's not really made in the West. And that's probably why it's done so well. Because most Western games are too influenced by, certain idiotic things that, doesn't belong in video games or in most media, I should say. I'll get further into that in a second. But yeah, the art style is very anime inspired. The designs of the costumes, for the most part, have all been stellar and very unique. And of course, they smartly got people who voiced a lot of these Marvel characters in the past to come in to voice them through this game. And a few of them have been like original characters that they had to bring in some voice actors to fill in, like the AT&T commercial girl. Very beautiful, by the way. Everybody just like loves that actress. She comes in to voice Squirrel Girl, who's probably one of the most impressive designs of Squirrel Girl I ever seen. And I don't think anybody ever said like a bad thing about Squirrel Girl, because I think like she's just an amazing character. Probably don't read much about her. She just got a good unique look and just charming, and people just like that on its own. Matter of fact, I probably should have saved this for Arbor Day or something like that, but I should review a Squirrel Girl comic at some point. Just to see, like, okay, what is she like in her own story. But anyway, the clearly it's a model is modeled after Overwatch, but I say it takes what Overwatch done, at least utilize the Overwatch blueprint and improved upon it with a Marvel sheen. Because what makes it a little bit different is, mostly not that, crazy in-game currency that Overwatch have, or at least the loot mechanics, or what, that kind of style, where you get everything right out the gate. It's free to play. I mean, they both were free to play, but with the battle pass things, unlike most games like Overwatch, it doesn't disappear after, an X amount of time. There will be a new battle pass coming soon, but whenever that comes around, the old one doesn't disappear. It'll still linger. So even if you haven't gotten to that point, and most of the stuff is pretty cheap, but even if you haven't gone through the battle pass completely or haven't gotten around to it, you still have your fair chance. It doesn't feel like you're missing out, if you didn't complete one thing while everybody else probably has. It's like, no, it'll still be there. You can always come to it. And I thought that was very impressive. It's like any game, it's still like a learning curve. We're still learning about like where certain things need to be bought and how to apply certain cosmetics. I really wish it was a little bit easier to acquire certain cosmetics, because I want to really like deck out my character a little bit more. Because I mean, I understand certain things need to be bought, but I really wish there was more options as far as like costume design at the very least. Or it takes kind of a while to level up your character in order to gain certain treats in order to apply to your character. Maybe there'll be like an update or something that will come soon, but that's for right now. One thing Overwatch has over Marvel Rival is that even though you want the exclusive skins or the rare skins, there's still options for different color of costumes for certain characters. They might seem like your basic color swap, but at least it offers some level of variety. But like I said, this game's still pretty early. We might eventually have all that soon. But I do want to talk about a couple of controversies regarding this game, which is like needless. One being one of the Overwatch developers, I forgot his name that fast, but he made a tweet that he quickly took down when he's complaining about like, Black Widow is pretty much like a ripoff of Widowmaker, not realizing that Black Widow has always been around since 1964 when she was first created. So if anything, like Widowmaker is kind of like probably like a ripoff of her. But besides all that, the developers of Marvel Rivals wasn't hiding the fact that this is clearly based off of Overwatch, or at least like an improved, iteration of Overwatch, even down to like the, matches where you escorting a particular item from one end of the map to the other kind of thing, and the other team trying to stop you. Yeah, it wasn't hiding. Now I would have critiqued the heck out of a game if they just blatantly rip off, like try to pull a Power World essentially. If Marvel Rivals developers was trying to pull a Power World where it's pretty much like pretending like it wasn't like a ripoff of Pokemon when it clearly is. No, they was pretty much upfront from the jump when it was first announced. Like, yeah, this is inspired by Overwatch, but we just put like a Marvel characters involved this time around. And it ain't just like a copy and paste. They do something very unique in their stuff. Like certain characters, has some kind of synergy thing to them. Like, for example, when I play as Scarlet Witch, if you're on a team with a player who's playing Magneto get like a buff with his attacks because he's like in proximity to Scarlet Witch. And he get like a augmented like a buff. I'm playing as also as the Punisher, And if he's next to somebody like Winter Soldier and Rocket Raccoon, he has pretty much unlimited ammo and kind of like a buff and things of that sort. So Overwatch doesn't do that. They don't bounce off each other like that. So I think the developer, said developer who had to take down his tweet, probably looking kind of stupid right now because, you just look like a hater because as people knew and expected, this was going to probably, well, we didn't know how long it was going to last, but clearly it's going to outshine Overwatch because Blizzard as a company, they're having some issues, to say the least. And in regards of Overwatch, I mean, not that Overwatch is a terrible game. I still have fun playing that game, but it's kind of like, it's amazing it lasted as long as it did, but it's not like people want to throw the baby out with the bathwater with that. But it just say it's time in the sun is for the time being over. People will still return to it every once in a while. It's not like Call of Duty where it's like people stop playing it until, and hop on to the next Call of Duty when it comes out next year kind of thing, or fall by the wayside. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like Smash Brothers. People will always come back to it and play every once in a while because they just want to play a few matches because it's still great characters in the video game. The world it built in Overwatch is still incredible. Like, people still have love for that thing, but it's not the only one in this market. So it's gonna have to share the spotlight, and for the time being, Marvel Rivals, eventually, right now it's the popular one. Eventually, it's maybe for the next year at most, it'll be like the most played game in terms of like a shooter type of thing. Because especially with new characters eventually coming out and things of that sort, it's going to have its day in the sun for quite some time. But even it eventually, its popularity will start to wane. I say maybe after a year from now. So you're going to have to share the popularity, or at least have it, give it its time in the sun. The next thing, the controversy I think is kind of ridiculous, is the fact that there are a few people complain, some with like channels and whatnot, complaining that the certain characters are like very male or female gazy. And because like Luna Snow character and Squirrel Girl, very curvy in the right ways, gorgeous to look at, thick thighs, very eye pleasing. And certain people have issues with that because it just seems like, I guess, chauvinistic to view women in that way. I'm sorry, even women like beautiful women. People like to look at pretty things, and certain reviewers that I follow had to point this out, and I do agree with them on that front. Like I want to give her a shout out because like I really love her channel. 1 second here, because highly recommend you guys check her out. Vera Dark, and she covered a lot of video games for a while, but only earlier this year I started following her, and she pointed out, rightly so, that those certain people are just like salty because, like I said earlier about Western gaming, some of them drink the DEI Kool-Aid. I'm sorry, but gotta call it like it is the fact that, you know, you looking at something like Concord, uh, where, or Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, where you got certain characters that aren't pleasing to look at. Like, you look at something like Nora Freeze in Suicide Squad game, or a myriad of characters in Concord that's just drenched in like this like DEI initiatives where they gotta have like crazy looking hair, unappealing looks, and dressing in manners that's not eye catching at all. It's like clearly a parameter or check boxes they had to follow through. Like this character, has to be a non-binary Native American queer paraplegic or something like that, all roll into one. Just for the sake of representation. And matter of fact, I'm probably still gonna do so, make a video talking about the right ways of representation and the wrong ways, because it's nobody, well, except for maybe some legitimate bigots out there in the world, but I'm pretty sure there's a very small number than you think. But I think rational people from wherever side of the aisle all agree that it's perfectly fine to include certain people in these spaces. But when that is like a mandate rather than fitting whatever story that is talking about, then that's where it's kind of eye rolly and preachy, very finger waggy. You know what I mean? Where it just doesn't feel organic to the story. Where it just feels like you just want to just put that in here, because you just want, you behind the developers team want to feel seen. Like I'm a paraplegic, so I want this person in this thing where it probably doesn't really necessarily fit in the overall theme of the game, but you just want to shove it in there kind of situation. Whereas it's like, it's like, does it fit the narrative that requires it? No, then it doesn't need to be put in there. Here in Marvel Rivals, it's just, hot women, good looking dudes. Women want to see good looking dudes with muscles looking like freaking superheroes. They want to see Thor looking like what you expect a Norse god to possibly look like. Luna Snow is some kind of like which is kind of weird because you think it'd probably be Dazzler or something like that, but she kind of have that Dazzler thing but with ice powers. And it's like, she's like a hot pop dancer kind of thing. And it's like, and this is a Marvel property, mind you. Marvel, well, kind of like with DC too, but I think more so with Marvel, it's probably have the most diverse group of characters in comic book history. Where, lately they kind of overdoing it a bit in the comics, but whatever. It's like, you got Storm, a Black American. You got Thor, a Norseman, or at least from probably Norwegian folklore. You got, of course, Spider-Man, Squirrel Girl, white Americans. You got Black Panther, an African. So there's clearly diversity in this group of lineup, but they don't beat you over the head with it. They don't lean so hard into it. They just let it be. Yeah, but that's not, because that's the biggest problem. It's like you let the diversity be the first thing out the gate that has to be the main priority, where it's like, oh, that's all they're about, that one note. It's like, oh yeah, Blue Beetle, he's Mexican American, and that's it about him. That's all he is just representation. I'm being sarcastic here. There's more to it, Jaime Reyes than that. But I'm just saying that if this only thing he's there for is just being like a representation, then that's where people get kind of annoyed. I think this is like a good example of having your cake and eating it too. You got good characters, well established. It kind of helps they're already well established. But also, it's just a game that's let's beat. It's fine. Storm, still Storm. Rich history. But she ain't all about her, or at least she shouldn't be, all just about like, her skin color or the struggle of her, history, when in regards of her, black heritage. It was just like she's a superhero. She fights criminals and saving, people and mutants. It's like it's a lot more to that. But yeah, Marvel Rivals is just like a stunning game, and this is how we people in general want their video games to. Like, you looking at someone like Stellar Blade, there's certain people complain about that because the jiggle fizzes, and it's like, yeah, she's a beautiful woman. I think this is like something that a lot of people always liked. Good looking females. Like Lara Croft was always that until the recent Netflix show that kind of like really butchered that character. Whereas it's like, yeah. And matter of fact, I really shoved that now because I didn't really want to do any kind of reviews on that Lara Croft Netflix show. But from what I've witnessed, it's like y'all really kind of shoved that lesbian thing onto this character where she wasn't like, she's always been like a straight woman. And she's always been like athletic, but she isn't like, you're trying to make her look like, and that's the whole point of the whole DEI thing that people like roll their eyes about. Is the fact that she was athletic and lean, agile, but she wasn't this overly buff chick. Now, you're looking at somebody like Vi from Arcane. I think that fits more with her character because she seems like a brawler. So it kind of makes sense to have a little bit more muscle tone for her. But you trying to apply that to Lara Croft, it seems like, yeah, you can't warp that character into something that, is not her. And yeah, that's where the whole point where DI becomes a problem. I'm pretty sure, just to extend the olive branch, I'm pretty sure DI probably came from a pure place. But certain people in that space, not all maybe, but certain people kind of, took it too far, where now it's kind of like you're applying, like you went too far in the other direction with it. Trying to bring people into spaces, yes, but then there's one thing from bringing people into the space is a whole nother ball of wax when you have those certain people from that space coming in, then try to take over. Well, instead of working in harmony. And this is not harmony. You're looking at something like Arcane, that's more harmony. You're looking at something like, Concord, that's disharmony. But I'm going off on a rant here, but basically coming back to Marvel Rivals, this is like an amazing game, and I kind of wish they have this like kind of like you see in most fighting games where it's like, oh, next season there's new 4 characters silhouetted that expect to come in, and first and foremost, I want to see Thanos come in. Thanos has to come into this game, and of course his super has to be using like the Infinity Gauntlet, because that's part of his arsenal. Now, you can't just, well, it's hard to say like what, because his ultimate has to be weapon out half of the, at least in a particular range. because it's like a radius maybe. Like like same way with Scarlet Witch when she used her ultimate ability, where she kind of like anybody in her general vicinity gets completely wiped. You can do something similar with that with Thanos when he uses his ultimate when he's trying to use the Infinity Gauntlet. Anybody in his radius, half of them at random will just snap away. And you should actually do the snap, as a matter of fact, because why wouldn't you? And just wipe out half the people in his general radius. That'll be dope. It has to be random. Well, I think it's all. Well, no, because like with somebody like Scarlet Witch, anybody in her radius is just gone. With Thanos, it has to be randomly half has to be wiped. This is the game. I'm pretty sure the game can figure out a way to have the game engine to just randomly choose anybody in the radius to just be annihilated. That'll be dope. Oh, we need more maps. I think like, the Daily Bugle, in front of the Daily Bugle or something like that, or a Shield helicarrier, Mephisto's realm. Is so much stuff in the Marvel universe. Savage Lands is like you can utilize for new maps. Mephisto. That'd be kind of interesting to include Mephisto as like or Blackheart, because you got to get Ghost Rider in there too. There's so many characters you can implement. I'm shocked they don't have Daredevil or Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, because you got at least half of the street level characters in this game already. So you might as well round it out with Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage. Because obviously getting those street level characters, or at the very least Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and Jessica Jones have some kind of synergy thing when they're on a team, because obviously they work well a lot together. As I mentioned, Ghost Rider, Blade got to be on there as well, because I think there was supposed to be some concept art for Blade. Who else? Ooh, God. Who else need to be in there? There's a couple of Avengers they gotta get involved. You already got like Penny Parker and Peter Parker there. Miles Morales gotta be thrown in there, obviously. Spider-Gwen gotta be in there. And I don't know, maybe you don't want to overdo it with the Spider-Verse characters, but it gotta at the very least be like the main core people that we follow from the films, like Miles Morales, Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Gwen, Peter Porker, and since I think there's a movie or a TV show, I forget which, with Spider-Man Noir with Nick Cage, gotta get Spider-Man Noir involved, and of course Spider-Punk. I think those probably be the main ones that we in terms of, because you got the Inheritors, or the Spider-Verse location with the Inheritors. I got to point out how incredible that developers behind it did their research, that they involve it's just a location, but they acknowledge about the Inheritors, which is the Spider-Verse people, because they acknowledge about the Spider-Verse. They did their research and made a location based off one of Spider-Man or the Spider-Folks' most difficult villains they have to deal with. Is the Inheritors, is pretty much like their version of Doomsday, pretty much, where they're very difficult to deal with. So that was pretty dope. And if they utilize Morlun as a as one of the villains to include in the roster, that would be pretty dope. Because I covered in my one of my earliest Spider-Man comics that I reviewed, where Peter Parker met up with Morlun for the first time, and he was trying to kill Peter Parker and just beat Peter savagely up and down the street. It was difficult for Peter Parker to beat, but he was the first one out of all the Spider Folk in the multiverse to actually beat one of the Inheritors with science, because all the other ones are more or less mystical in nature rather than science based. But I thought that would be pretty dope. Killmonger. You already got Black Panther. You need to include like Killmonger in there. That'd be pretty fun. It'd be kind of dope to get Michael B. Jordan to come voice him, because he is Killmonger. M'Baku would be pretty dope. M'Baku would be pretty dope to include in there. Who else? You gotta include at least, you only got 2 Guardians of the Galaxy. You gotta get Gamora. Oh no, you got 3 Guardians with Mantis technically is a Guardian, but you gotta get Gamora in there. Well, I guess you gotta round it out. Well, no, we got everybody but Gamora and Drax, so you gotta get eventually Gamora and Drax in there. And got Doctor Strange, so we could include Clea and Dormammu in the roster. There's a lot of players you can get involved here in this. I'm trying to think. It's pressure. I'm trying to rethink like all the Marvel characters. Abomination. You already got Hulk, so you can include the Abomination in this. You gotta get a few more X-Men involved, because you already got Wolverine and Wolverine's Scarlet Witch, Magneto, Storm. You got Cyclops, Jean Grey involved, Gambit and Rogue. I think those are probably like the main ones. It'd be kind of dope personally to get Jubilee, but I doubt they will add Jubilee. But it'd be pretty dope to get Jubilee in there, because she would be pretty fun. I love it. Unlike most people, I like Jubilee. I think she's a great character. She's fun because I grew up with in the 90s. I really thought she was appealing, unlike most people. I like Jubilee. I thought she was pretty fun. But yeah, it's like I don't want to take up most of this video, me rambling on possible characters, but you catch my drift. Those gotta be like, the Fantastic Four. You gotta include the Fantastic Four and the Super Skrull. If you want to include any of the, and of course, obviously Doctor Doom, because he's the main like person on the picture of this game. So yeah, Doctor Doom, Super Skrull, and the Fantastic Four have to be involved in this game. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure you guys can leave a comment below. Let me know which other kind of Marvel character you really want to have in this game, and how, and it should come in some kind of package or something like that, like they do with fighting games, so we can at least anticipate for the next like season or next battle pass for Marvel Rivals, because I'm super excited. I'm going to be playing this game again later on tonight, but I'll talk to you guys later. Let me know what you guys think of Marvel Rivals, like what are your likes and your dislikes, what you think they can improve on, and what you think they can which characters you think need to be nerfed, because I think a lot of people are complaining a lot about Iron Fist right now, and I tend to agree. And he needs to be nerfed just a little bit, because he just like zippy around when he does his little kung fu moves. Anyway, I will see you guys later on. Take care. See you later. Peace.